Fuck. Yeah, sorry about that. That was a little long. Where is this fucking picture? Here it is, all the way at the top. That was a little long. I'm sorry about that. That was a long intro. Was it? What did you say? 9 minutes? No, you said 10 minutes. I think it was 9 minutes. Now I'll be on like 20 fat girls. Yes, Jovan, thank you. In respect to different time zones. Listen, I was just in Vegas, 3-hour difference. It was tough. It was very tough. I was wide awake at fucking 2:30 a.m., which is 5:30 my time. It's tough. We'll respect the time zones. Jovan, thank you for making time and coming on around 10:30 to talk Big 12. There's plenty of teams to go over. So we can take our time, however much time Jovan has. Also, in that breath, I do want to mention I did dabble a little bit in baseball yesterday. I mean, it's just it's so nice outside. It's so nice outside. I want to end baseball season on a high note. It's been a great run, but at the same time, I did start to look at the board. I had a 5 o'clock, and then I was on my way home. I was on the ferry. I was feeling good. Maybe I was just feeling like the aura, when you go to the beach, they have like positive ions, whatever that is from the Hudson River. No, East River. It's got to be not the Hudson. The East River's got to have something, There's this thing called the $1 Billion Oyster Project. There's a bunch of oysters in there at the bottom of the East River and the Hudson River, I'm pretty sure, and they're like filtering out all the filth in the water. But it does something to your brain, and it says, let me look at the board. Let me see if anything's speaking to me. A few things did speak to me. DJ Hertz felt like a masterclass. I almost went with the Nationals first 5. Glad I didn't. Austin Gomber, can we talk about Austin Gomber for a second? I think I faded this guy earlier in the season. I cannot remember if I was successful or not. I think I did like 3 props. Maybe I went like 1 and 2 or 2 and 1. Doesn't matter. It's not worth bragging about. My point is he was on my radar early in the season, and I thought that this guy was going to be rat shit. Turns out he's actually pretty good. I think he's pretty good. And I tweeted this yesterday because I got home. I was watching a little bit of that game. I was watching a little bit of what was the other game I was watching? I can't remember. Anyways, I thought to myself, Austin Gomber is showing some potential for a 30-year-old pitcher. He's showing some potential. Shout out Oliver. I didn't know that he was traded with Nolan Arenado. Did they win the trade? I don't know. DJ Hertz over the strikeouts. Yes, I would have lost the Nationals first 5. Also, the total at 8 was a little telling. Both guys combined ERAs like that. Unfortunately, it was never fading Frankie Montas. Frankie Montas was coming off of a masterclass. I thought the Cardinals being favorites showed a lot of respect. Eric Fetty, in my opinion, had not done anything really that impressive. Could be wrong. Remember, I haven't been as tapped in lately. Could be wrong. I didn't think Eric Fetty had done anything that impressive. And I was like, man, minus 120, minus 125 against the fucking Brewers? The Brewers have been awesome. Cardinals first 5? No. Frankie Montas over earned runs? No. The guy pitched a fucking gem. So that didn't work out so well. And then my Rays, had the Rays on the first 5. That ended up being a push. 2-unit play push. Unfortunately, it was always a full game. Jose Siri, 8th inning. Love that. Don't really know why I like the Rays. I just thought for considering everybody got burned with Taj Bradley yesterday, when I tried to tell everybody it wasn't Taj Bradley Day, and it's not going to be Taj Bradley Day for the rest of the season, but you guys don't listen because you're stubborn fuckers. I thought to myself, Baz is going to pitch his ass off. So in the underdog, I did a four-leg entry over fantasy score. DJ Hertz over K's, yay. Joey Estes over and runs? Absolutely not. It was never Joey Estes earned runs. The Rays got like 3 hits the entire game. And over Frankie Montas earned runs. No. 2 and 2. And then no go on the Cardinals first 5, unfortunately. Shout out to A Hill 19 for the very nice DM this morning. Love that. As the kids say, a movie. That definitely sounds like something I would say. So I had to get ahead of it. I thought people were going to think, oh, this boomer is just sending DMs to himself to look good. Not the case. Thank you to A Hill for the very nice DM. That was very nice. And I'm happy to hear that you're on a 51-17 run. That's awesome. The strategy, reading the board early in baseball season, terrible. It was awful April and May. And then June 11th, it was a very, very good 2-month run. Shout out RotoWire, by the way. First year using RotoWire. Big fan. Big fan. What's up, Prime Esto? How we doing? Good morning, Crispy. Moved into my new place. This spot is nice. 2 gyms, a basketball court, spa, sauna. What the fuck? Free where do you live? That sounds amazing. Sports bar, pizzeria attached to the building. I'm gonna guess Charlotte. Charlotte feels kind of Charlotte-y. What's up, Primer? Oh, look at that. Buddies in the chat. Esto and Primer. We love that. This motherfucker better have pissed, have coffee in his eggs. Yep, no eggs today. I was out of eggs. Went to a little deli, bodega, whatever you want to call it, to buy eggs, to make eggs. They didn't have any eggs. Kind of weird, whatever. But they whip shit up in the back. So I was like, all right, fuck it. Let me just get a sausage, egg, and cheese croissant. I split half of it with my wife, okay? So it's not like, it's not as bad as it could have been. I could have the whole thing, obviously, 10 minutes. Guy bitches that sports don't start on time, yet he can never start stream on fucking time. It's a little bit different. Okay? It's a little bit different. A, I'm not getting paid. B, there's not millions of people watching me. But I do my best. All right. I do my best. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He might be waiting for Jovan. No, I'm not waiting for Jovan. I'll be on in like 20. Yep. Jovan on this morning. Yep. What up, Bunk? What? It's only 1 hour. Don't give me too much credit. Oh yeah, I guess that's true. That's true. I thought it was like 2 for a second. Yeah, 1 hour. That's yeah. Okay, I take that credit back. By the way, no time zone slurpage. Then I thought it was 2 hours. Where you? Oh, you're in Dallas. That's right. Ray's money line was hard. Yep, should have gone full game. Do you record your action, Prime? Oh yeah, good question. Mariners team total over 3.5 still giving me nightmares. Oof, Baz. No, it's gonna be Taj. It's gonna be either Taj, Springs, Rasmussen. Although if Rasmussen goes to the bullpen, there goes that. It's not gonna be Shane. It's not gonna be Shane coming off of an injury. Not really. Sometimes. Okay, wanted to tail. Just wondering. Recording your action is only beneficial if you're winning. Oh, that's just false. Yeah, no, it is false. It's good. It's good to if you lose, it's good to look back on what you did or what you did wrong, at least, especially if you have like a span of a week where shit's not working. You got to adapt and adjust. Shout out Juice Reel. Yeah, I guess that shit's pretty good. I'll have to give it a look. Might be DGen's dad. He might be. Dude, these 2 guys the A's have are fucking nasty. Boyle was throwing gas. Estes is fucking throwing gas. So done with the city of Charlotte. Yeah, what happened to Charlotte? By the way, I've actually never been to Charlotte. I've been to Raleigh a few times. When you drive from New York to Florida, that's like the halfway point, 8.5 each way. Stopped in Raleigh. I like Raleigh. If I could have gone back maybe like 5 years ago, probably would have maybe tried to buy some real estate in Raleigh. It's booming there now. Cranes everywhere. A lot of construction, a lot of building. Why is there such a big discrepancy on lines between underdog and PP and the books for season-long props? Maybe a dumb question. I don't know. I don't think it's a dumb question. I don't know if anybody's going to really have an answer. Boyla's so good. Dude, he is so good. He's so good. What's up, Snidesy? Yeah, I'm a big fan. Not sure, but can assume because of the payout differences between the 2 apps. Barkley 11.60.5, but on the books it's 9.95.5. Yeah, I don't know. They use different books as a reference for lines. Yeah. I remember there was a big discrepancy last year for some of these lines, just between like FanDuel and DraftKings. And Bet Online has a huge discrepancy too with some of these rushing yards. I got really lucky. The only reason I think I hit Gabe Davis last year, is because I got it at 725.5. I'm pretty sure he was 775 or 800.5 on Prize Picks, DraftKings, and maybe somewhere else. And I got 725.5 on FanDuel. Love that. That's right. He did not hit for the season long. That's part of the reason I lost. I went 3 for 5 in the season long because I lost him and I lost TJ Hawkinson. But I hit him straight because it was 725. I got the slip. If there's any slip police out there. By the way, can we have a conversation about the slip police real quick? I made a rant not that long ago about the odds police. where like if you take a bet and it's like you bet on something like 17-1, somebody was like, oh, I can't believe that's only 70-1. That should be 50-1. That is criminal. It's like, bro, set your own. You just think you can set your own odds. These motherfuckers want to go out there and set their own odds. I can't believe that's 17-1. Okay. Well, what can you possibly do about it? You don't have to bet it. Don't bet it. I will never forget. I posted a 4 or 5 leg parlay. I haven't had a parlay in a fortnight, by the way. Oh, actually, yeah, I did. I had a parlay not that long ago. What did I hit? I was on fire for a little bit a couple weeks ago in MLB. Anyways, I hit a parlay, and I think it paid like 30-1 or 33-1. And some motherfucker had the audacity to be like, I can't believe those odds are only 33-1. That's criminal. That's what he said. That's criminal. I was like, bro, I hit the parlay. What are you talking about? It's criminal. It's like, listen, I get the root of the argument. I get the frustration. What are you going to do about it? You're not going to do anything about it. Again, I always say, if you are, anyways, whatever. We don't have to keep going down this road. Slip police. What's up with the slip police? What is up with the slip police? If you talk about a bet and you want to make the bet and you make the bet and you track the bet, people always say slip. I don't know what that means. You just want to see the actual ticket? I still don't know that I get it. It's fucking crazy. People pretending to know what the odds should be is hilarious. Dude, I just don't understand it. I don't know where it came from. Sports betting Twitter is a real motherfucker sometimes. No congrats or anything. Yeah, no shit. Can never make everyone happy. No, you really can't. People are motherfuckers. Anyways, good morning. I see we got some sub bangs in here that I didn't acknowledge. My bad. UFC, your UCF Big 12 Champs token. We're going to talk about that. There's a lot of UCF love. I keep saying UFC. There's a lot of UCF love this season that I'm hearing. I don't know that I understand all of it. I'm hearing a lot of people say KJ Jefferson, Heisman. I don't understand it. We're going to talk about that. Zach Brownlee. I don't know why I say Zach. It's just Z. I just assume it's Zach. What other name could it be? Zion Brownlee. 7 month. You only been subscribed 7 months? I feel like you've been around the block forever. Token picks, 19-monther W's. Blaine, 24-monthers. Coffee run got me running late. That's all right. W coffee run. I'm on my fucking, I've had 2 cups already. My temples are buzzing. Actually, my temples started hurting. I was like, ooh, what am I doing wrong here? My temple legitimately started hurting. I was like, W Prohibition Museum, by the way. My wife, we were having a conversation yesterday. My wife was saying that, let me show you the shirt. I think this shirt's hilarious. You see that? It says, call me old fashioned. And it's an old fashioned. It's the drink. My wife was trying to tell me, she was saying she's funnier than me. And I said, absolutely not. I'm funnier. And she was like, you're not that funny. You're just corny. I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, yeah, like dad jokes and stuff. I was like, no, I'm funny. There's like some dad jokes and corny humor. So I said, now I'm going to wear this shirt. I'm going to wear this shirt now every day for a week and try to fucking, rub it in her face. There you go. This is what you want. You did this. W Jovan subbang to I always want to say Icoaler. She might be onto something. Bill's fan and Ohio State dude in piss the last 3 years. Yep. So anyways, before Jovan comes on, we can recap a little bit. We've talked ACC. We've talked Big Ten. I thought the Big Ten conversation was great yesterday. Who we got for the BMW? I don't know. I remember talking about this with BK last week. BK is on Xander single bullet, which is probably a good move. I liked Aberg. He talked about Aberg. We talked about him last week and said maybe Colorado because he's got a big stick. Pause. I'm not 100% sure, but you know what? Maybe I'll pull up the odds board. W. Jovan with 2 gifted subs. We love that. Vic, ride the form. Really? Aren't decent? It's Trey Cabbage Day. I don't even know who that is. Trey Cabbage Day. I don't know who that is. Ludwig stays fucking me. Yeah, no shit. Yep. Sub banks. Thank you, Jovan. W sub banks. Xander boosted on Bet65 GG. All right, I'm good to pass on Xander. Xander never treats me well. Let me pull up the board real quick. Actually, let's see what Bet Online has. Well, first I want to keep these win totals open. I like these player performances too. These are fun. Player performances, bang. And then let's go to golf real quick. Hold on, I'm looking at golf. Everybody just give me a minute. Good morning, by the way, if you're just rolling in. I see we got 200 eyeballs here on Twitter. I don't see any YouTube gang. Is there some YouTube gang? Where's the YouTube gang? McIntyre? Really? Bobby Mack? Good day to have a good day. Is hurt. Wait till next year. Okay. NOLA over 2.5 earned runs is my POD. Interesting. W newsletter. Thank you, Fat Girls. Yep. Friday morning newsletter will be out. Shout out Jovan, by the way. He did some picks for us last year, which were great during college football. It was hilarious because I think like 3 of them were Charlotte, which for whatever reason, he and I both tried to fucking get sharp with Charlotte. I think it worked out a handful of times. And then there was once where it didn't work out. Good morning, everyone, but Hovey, because he ain't in here. Oh, W's. W Cornfields. Good morning, Cornfields. Stefarsson. There we are. Stefarsson's in the fucking YouTube gang holding it down. All right. Let's see. We've got, I'm going to get the odds up real quick on this golf. Let's get it up. All right, here we go. Where we at? Golf BMW Championship. All right, Scotty 3-1, Xander 550, Rory, Colin, Cantlay. Could you imagine if it was Cantlay? Fuck Cantlay, dude. Aberg 20, Finau. I don't hate Finau. I think I'm going Finau. Dude, wouldn't it be amazing if I go the whole season without hitting it outright and I just fucking nailed the last tournament? Finau for 3 units. Cameron Young's kind of a Colorado guy. I mean, I know he's an upstate New Yorker. I like Day. Benon, 80? No, Benon's not winning in Colorado. Matthew Pavon. Stop with the Cam Young bets. That dude is ever knitting. Yep. He's a BMW guy. Fuck. You might be right. Knicks fan. Did you retire betting Sepp? Yes, dude. I tried telling you, just like I tried telling Taj, no more Sepp. He can't handle the spotlight. I still got suckered into betting him. Fucking BK. Thanks a lot last week. This course is a beauty. Yep. Sable is on Cantlay. Stay the fuck away. Thank you very much. Sobel, not Sable. I know who that guy is. Grazerman's been good. Willie Zal, no. You know what? I'm done with Shane Lowry, too. I'm done with Shane Lowry. Shane Lowry can get fucked. This guy ain't winning anything. He's not. Thoughts on the Dolphins' first team to get to 100 points this season? Is that a bet? I don't know. We got to see. I don't know. What are the Arizona Cardinals? What are the Cardinals? What are the Rams? Be a good one. I do think the Rams are going to score some points, even though I'm fading them. Thigala 50, Norn 50. I'm going to be on Aberg, Clark, and Rye. I'm good on Rye. I don't think Rye's winning again. JT? JT's a Beamer guy. I'm going Finau. I'm not complaining about getting ads, and there's nothing you can do about this, but I don't know why I'm getting exclusively political ads. I don't live in a swing state. Very funny. Maybe it's because we had BK on, and he was wearing a White Dudes for Kamala Harris t-shirt. I'm just kidding. Why are you getting ads? You're subbed. It says you're subbed. You have some logo next to your name. Prime Gaming. Okay, before Jovan comes on, I'm going to be on Finau. Finau's my guy. Finau's going to win in Colorado. Yep. Thank you, Tyler. Sick Money, by the way. Sick Money's a W supporter, man. Sick Money retweeting the streams. That always helps. Listen, it don't take much to lift a finger and just put it down like that on a button. The heart, the retweet, whatever. If you want to comment, any sort of engagement on social media is much appreciated. But in all seriousness, though, let me get the I want the betting lines up real quick for college football once Jovan comes on. We don't need to be like super tight or anything. I don't want to take up too much of his time, but I do want to be prepared with the tabs. I had Dave Canales up here. Yeah, Jovan is in on the Panthers this year. You guys seem to be in on the Panthers. Not me. I'm out on the Panthers. I'm not fading the Panthers, but I'm not buying them. I mean, are they going to win a couple games? Sure. But I also got to keep in mind, I've been on the Panthers recently when they had Teddy Bridgewater. I had their over 5.5 wins. They started 3-2. I thought I was going to be golden. And they lost. I think they lost like 7 games by 8 points or less. That was a motherfucker. So I've just got Panthers fatigue, but I don't know. I mean, Dave Canales, I think he's going to be a good coach. I really like The Panthers and Titans, I think I'm good like 2 or 3 years from now. I mean, if they keep those core guys in there, I'm with it. I like Derek Brown. I like their D line. I like fucking JC Horn. I love fucking. They still have Jeremy Chin. Do the Panthers still have Jeremy Chin? He's a bad motherfucker. They lost Frankie Louvu. I like Frankie Louvu. Proper Guinness glass. I know, Crutch, dude. I know. You see Obama's dick joke about Trump last night? 'Twas amusing. No, I didn't. I see the clips. The one I keep seeing is Michelle Obama talking about how like her family was talking about like you don't need to have more. What was it? It was like you don't really need. People always have more than they need or something like that. And then people keep talking about how their Martha's Vineyard house is worth like $40 million or something like that. I've seen that go around a few times, but we're not going to talk politics on this stream. All right. Chin is a commander. He's on the Commanders now. Wow. SMU, Nevada, 56.5. SMU may get there themselves. So we talked about the ACC. We talked about the Big Ten. The one thing I've been hearing a lot of with the ACC is a lot of fucking SMU love, and I didn't really understand why. I get it now. I get it. They're returning a ton of starters. Preston Stone is a guy that people like. They were really good last year. I get it. I'm going to give you my spiel on Oklahoma State when Jovan gets up here because I don't want to have to repeat myself. And I'm really curious, more so than any other team in this conference. I need to know if he gives me the stamp of approval on fading the Oklahoma State Cowboys. But you always got to be careful with these teams. Some years, it's like everybody's coming back. They were good. Same quarterback, same coach. I was talking to Steak last night, by the way. This motherfucker likes Indiana. He won't shut up about Indiana. Our newsletter is going to be out Friday. All of our official season futures. Last year was tight. I think I was right down the middle. I think I was like 5-4-1. I think didn't get there with Texas A&M over. Didn't get there with Texas under. I think I faded Oklahoma State last year. Didn't get there with Pittsburgh. By the way, shout out Special K. I don't know if you remember this, Special K, but when we were talking last year, I wanted to buy into God, who was that fucking idiot quarterback that transferred from Notre Dame to Boston College and then to Pittsburgh? Who was that guy? He's terrible. I wanted to buy into Narduzzi and that quarterback. And you were like, isn't it weird a team that just won 8 or 9 games, I forget what it was for Pittsburgh, is now at a 6.5 win total? And I was like, yeah. No, not Slovis. Slovis was like 2 years ago. No, come on. What was that guy's name? Some big goofy white dude. He went to Notre Dame. Fuck. I don't know. DY's 21. What's up? Last year, Preston Stone 20.5. He had 267.5. Sneaky Heisman. Yep. Indiana this year. Wisco last year. New coach needs a year to get the guys. I agree with you. Jerkovich, dude. That was tough. I don't know why I fell in love with Pittsburgh last year. What were some of the goods? Let's see. Oklahoma was good. Had over Oklahoma. Had over Iowa. That was good. What was another team that I had the over on? I can't really remember. They're all on the website though, and in the newsletter. We'll have to. I'll do maybe a little recap in the Discord if you guys need one. I don't know how Steak did, but he had fucking Michigan to win it all, so that was enough for him. But so far, I think for the ACC, I have determined we're not going to fade Miami, and we're not going to fade Florida State. We'll pick our spots. We're not going to fade them on the season. I'm going to fade Louisville, even though I haven't watched the spring game. I'm going to. I got time today. Kansas this year, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Kansas. He's on K-State. Jerkovich is? Oh, God, he's terrible. Yeah, but he's not starting. He's just a backup. Steak is big on K-State this year. We'll see if Jovan gives his blessing on that one. What else? Oh, NC State. I'm in on NC State this year. Sure. Vatek, maybe. So far, I think it's over NC State. I think it's under Louisville. And I think that might be it for the ACC. Big Ten. Steak and I disagree. He's drinking the Oregon Kool-Aid. And I will tell you this. When Steak fucking goes in on chalk or like a public play tends to hit. It tends to hit. And it concerns me. I'm not buying Oregon this year. It's just too many new faces. New running back, new wide receiver, new quarterback. I don't know. That shit just doesn't always work like this. Then you're in a new conference. You get some unfamiliar places you got to go play in. They got to go to Wisconsin. They're going to go to Purdue. They're going to they got to go to Michigan. You know? I'm not buying Oregon. I do really like Dan Lanning, though. Ohio State, wrong chalk? Yeah, probably. Miami 4-1 is a steal value-wise. Lock it up. I can't do it. Decent? I can't do it, man. I can't do it with Mario Cristobal. No. Why is everyone fading ND week 1? I don't know. I don't think Notre Dame's going to win that game. Fucking hope they do. I'm not fading Notre Dame. I will. I faded Notre Dame in the past. I took Clemson last year. You know, people always say that. U.S. currently on Mario Cristobal in this economy currency. Yeah, right. Wisconsin Natty, no, but I do like Wisconsin this year. I think I like Tyler Van Dyke. And I explained it yesterday. It wasn't Tanner Mordecai was not the guy for Wisconsin. I think Fickle will be a great hire. I think Longo's offense will probably work. They bring back all their receivers. You got Chez Malusi. You've got a fairly experienced defense. I like Wisconsin. Duke QB versus old coach. I'll take the kid. Oh, really? Who is the coach? It's not Cutcliffe, right? Or that was the old Duke head coach. As an Oregon student and diehard fan, I'm so scared for all the hype. Yeah, but this is by far the best roster we've had and most experience we've ever had with the best culture. Can't deny any of that. Like I'm saying, man, when Steak plays chalk, the shit tends to hit. So, Mike Elko? That's right. He used to be a fucking Notre Dame disciple. What team is Kev a fan of? Yeah, right. I'm exaggerating, but I think Wisconsin can beat Alabama. No, I don't think so, sadly. If Primer backs SMU, I'm out. I think he is backing SMU. Also, his very first comment of the day is hilarious because I'm fading the absolute shit out of Oklahoma State. But shout out to Primer, though. Don't forget, he did hit Johnny Vegas in Golf Future. That's more than I've hit this year. Yeah, you wish, pal. No, I'm just kidding. Nobody wishes they were a Notre Dame fan. Okay. Excuse me. Let me make sure. I'm going to tell, just playing around seriously, though, an Ole Miss read is an L, though. If you look into a little bit, they're going to win 10+ games. Man, this guy is adamant. Right wing plays. This guy Adam on Twitter. I mean, I'm not saying he's wrong. Anybody that's going to back Ole Miss, I totally get it and understand it. I like Lane Kiffin. I like him a lot. I think he's a great college head coach. He's just that kind of guy you want for college kids. That's just a lot of fucking expectations. I don't know that he's going to deliver. Ole Miss to miss the playoffs. Steak posted his futures yesterday. Actually, let's go see it. Let's go take a quick look. Let's go take a quick look and see this idiot's. Let's go see idiots. Ole Miss fade. I agree. I know SPP really likes Ole Miss. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to like Ole Miss. Like, I get that, you know. Oregon, Michigan, and you got the scroll bar in here. God damn, it drives me insane. Let the scroll bar disappear before you take a fucking screenshot. It's not that hard. By the way, I'm eating blueberries, Fountain of Youth. You know what I mean? Fountain of Youth. Brady Cook plus 28.97. That's definitely not what he got it at. Steak doesn't really know how to edit the odds, maybe. Dylan Gabriel, 7-1. Shit's not hitting. Michigan Wolverines, 30-1 to win the national championship. Not hitting. Miller Moss, don't hate that. Brady Cook, don't hate it. Not hitting, but I don't hate it. Spartans over 5. I have no coming in a sec, working on Cam. You're good, Jovan. No worries. Oregon Ducks over 10-1. I mean, over 10.5. No. I don't know why he loves Indiana. Kurt Signetti's the new coach. He loves that. Ole Miss Rebels, I'm tailing. Missouri Tigers, don't hate that. I'm going to tell Kansas State probably over the win total. Ooh, win the Big 12? I'm down for that. USC to make the playoffs? No. DGen, we dropped Miller Moss Heisman in here yesterday. Go listen to Chip on Cover 3 POD, why it's a great narrative. Okay. Yeah, I like Cover 3. I like the Cover 3 guys. I like Bud Foster. I listened to him at the panel at Bet Bash. He was cool. Brady Cook, yep. Yep, he's buying Missouri. Stake's buying Missouri. I mean, it's a little trendy. Well, actually, no, it's not trendy. I take that back. I don't think it's trendy in the sense of Notre Dame is now a 3-point dog. Tim Murray just tweeted at Texas A&M. Kind of like the points. I kind of like Notre Dame with the 3. That's going to be a low-scoring game, don't you think? Fuck Michigan, yep. ND wins outright. Really? I don't know about that. Oh, you know what? I do have a question, though. I have a question. What's up with this Connor Wegman love? Why does everybody like Connor Wegman? This dude ain't nothing fucking special. Hey, real quick, actually, before Jovan comes on, let me take a piss. Let me get a fresh, empty bladder, and I'm going to get some water, all right? Before Jovan gets in, I'll be right back. Mute. Oh, let me turn this fucking thing off. All right, there we go. Perfect timing. What did it say? W. Jovan. Yep, love that play. I know Jovan is marinating. No, he actually just popped in. What's up, man? How you doing?
Huge. Do I sound okay?
You sound great. Is this your new studio or are you at Trent's house?
No, I'm at Trent's house.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that's decked out.
Yeah.
W hat too, by the way. Well, good morning. Thanks for popping on to talk Big 12. I know obviously you are. I was gonna say I've said you're a few whisperers like Zach Gallen, Alec Manoa. I was almost gonna say you're a Big 12 whisperer. Do you feel like you know the Big 12 better than any other conference because you're a TCU? Wait, are you grad or student?
Grad.
Okay, W, congrats. Do you feel like you know the Big 12 better than any other conference or not necessarily?
Yeah, I would say so. Just because I watch it easily the most. So, I mean, I guess like Zach Gallen and other people have kind of developed just by the nature of everything. I'm a little more Big 12, but there's new teams. So who knows?
Right. There are new teams, and it's weird. Like I think we talked like Big 10 yesterday. You were in here for one of the streams. Was it yesterday or was it ACC that you were kind of in?
I think I was in ACC for a little bit before we left for a meeting.
Okay, so I am curious though before we talk Big 12, which I'm excited to do because there's one of my biggest plays which will come out right out of the gate with. I am curious just in the Big 10. Have you on Behind the Lines, have you guys already talked about your college football futures or is that coming up?
Yeah, we had like pods that we
you did a podcast?
Yeah, for a couple of them.
Okay, have you done Big 10?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go listen to it, I promise, but I just need to know real quick. Are you drinking the Oregon Kool-Aid?
Not quite.
Okay.
Quite. But like it's weird because like the Big 10 I'm relatively chalky because like I think the easy answer is to say it's going to be Oregon, Ohio State no matter what, and like Oregon gets them at home in the regular season, so like I could see them beating them. But I don't know. It feels like as a person who was on Dylan Gabriel a lot last year, it feels like the slurpage has gotten a little out of control for my mind because I don't see a world where they win. I know it's a weird game, but they play Ohio State at home, then they go short week Friday night at Purdue, who's not going to be good. But that's that's where every Big Ten team goes to die. So it feels like the margin for error for Oregon is very slim, which I'm not exactly in on.
Also, there's a really weird game in November where they have to go to Wisconsin. And I'm not going to tell you Wisconsin's going to be very good, although I might be on their over this year. But it's just a weird place for a team like Oregon to play. So I don't know. There's chalk that hits, though, for sure in college football, so I won't be totally surprised. All right. Well, thank you again for making the time. It's 10:40. I'll try. You can stay on for however long you'd like, by the way. What I do, as you probably saw, is I just go through this magazine. I like it. I think it's called Lindy's. They typically start out with the team that's the highest ranking, which in this case with the Big 12, it is now the Oklahoma State Cowboys. You and I talked a little bit. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but we faded the Cowboys and we kind of talked about, was it last year? Yeah. We were talking about Mike Gundy, kind of it coming towards the end of his coaching career, or at least there, maybe. And unfortunately, we were wrong, but we looked so right in the beginning of the season when they lost to fucking South Alabama. I'll never forget that. And then followed up with a loss for Ohio State. I'm pretty good about not cashing tickets before the whistle's over, but I was already in my head thinking that the under Oklahoma State wins was good to go. And then they really fucked me last year because I had Kansas State over 8 wins. Kansas State, I think, was like a double-digit favorite on the road in Oklahoma State. They were very good. I got eyes on them. I think I watched a full Oklahoma State game, which is crazy that this was the game I watched when they played West Virginia, because I had West Virginia, and they fucking Ollie Gordon was unstoppable that game. And even Alan Bowman, who I'm not super high on, made some plays. And I was really upset. I was like, shit, I'm just flat out wrong with Oklahoma State. But here is what I wanted to say. And I want to know if you agree with this. So every year, and I only went back for the last 3 years to get this sample size, there's always a team that does well and kind of not really like surprises people, but they out, overachieve essentially, right? They exceed their expectations. Then they get on people's radar. And then people who bet or talk about sports start to look at this team and they go, oh, they're bringing back their key guys. They got their same coach. They love, returning starters and everything like that, which is great. I mean, I do too. It makes a lot of sense, right? For those teams, the past 3 years, in 2021, was Iowa State with Brock Purdy and Breece Hall, and UNC with Sam Howell. Those teams, the following year when they got on everyone's radar, Iowa State 7-6. I did bet Brock Purdy to win the Heisman, hand up. UNC 6-7. 2022, this was one of my favorites and one of my biggest fades. Had it in the newsletter. NC State with Devin Leary as their quarterback. Now this was a little bit of a sweat, but it was 8.5. They went under that. But I was hearing people pick them to not only win the ACC, but people were picking them to also make the playoff as a long shot that season. They were returning like something crazy, like 18 starters or some fucking shit like that. So, and then last year, it wasn't necessarily had to do with overachieving, but it was Wisconsin. Everybody was on Wisconsin. Yeah. This year, I feel like it might be Oklahoma State. Everybody I have heard is talking about Oklahoma State to make some noise in a college football playoff, and they return a fuck ton of starters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on offense. I mean, that's a lot of starters on offense that they're returning. And they're returning half their defense. Ollie Gordon's coming back. Alan Bowman's coming back. Their leading receiver, Presley, is coming back. So there's really not a lot that you wouldn't like about Oklahoma State. The problem is, as I just gave these examples every year, something changes with college football players, I think, when you have these expectations. And for whatever reason, your performance doesn't really match up with the year before. I want to go with Oklahoma State under as my biggest, probably not necessarily my biggest bet for a college football win total, which I typically do about 3 units. But it's under 8.5 and it's minus 130. Do you want to talk me off of that, or are you co-signing it?
I don't want to talk you off of that, because the one rule that I broke last year with Oklahoma State, whenever expectations are high, they disappoint. Whenever expectations are low, they show up and they're really good. It's like that was I felt like breaking that last year, which is why I like the under, and I kind of discounted the schedule a little bit last year too. Mm-hmm. I thought there were some spots that were trickier than they were, but like looking at their schedule last year, this is one of the softest road schedules looking back that I've ever seen. They went to Arizona State in non-conference. That team was absolutely terrible. They did go to Ames, and shocker, they lost that game. They went to Morgantown against the West Virginia team that was in a tough spot. They went to UCF, which was a tough spot to win, and they lost by 42. They went to Houston, and that was it. So, like, the tougher games that they had on the road, they didn't show up for. And the easier ones that they had, they won like they're supposed to, even though a lot of these were a little closer than they should. Like, looking at this year, they do get Utah at home, which is a big plus, but they go on the road to Kansas State. They go on the road to BYU, which BYU is not going to be great, but that's a Friday night game in BYU, which is one of the toughest places to play. They go to Baylor. That game's always close. They go to TCU. They cannot physically beat TCU in Fort Worth. And then they go to Colorado last game of the season, which that game may mean a little more for Colorado than it means for Oklahoma State at that point. But, yeah, I think the schedule this year is a lot trickier. And betting on Alan Bowman to not have 2 good years in a row after what we've seen him do in his college career, I will not talk you off that.
Yeah, Alan Bowman doesn't pass my eyeball test, and that's kind of what I wanted to know from someone who knows the conference a little bit more, maybe the teams and the players. Because I have been way wrong in the past, trust me. And I'm looking at his stats. Okay, he had 3,460 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. And I do recall sweating certain games for this under. And, I'm watching the box score. I'm not watching the actual game, but I would see Alan Bowman throws an interception. And I kept thinking to myself, yes, we've always got that. Like, Bowman's not a very good quarterback. He makes dumb idiot plays. And when they probably could legitimately run the ball 4 times and just get a first down and do that the entire drive, I was glad they would elect to throw it on certain times when they shouldn't have. And I'm just wondering now too, do you expect Bowman to improve, limit the mistakes, or the production of Ollie Gordon to somehow increase? He had 1,700 yards last year, which is absolutely fucking insane. I'm of the mindset that now Gordon is basically established himself as the running back in the draft this year. I'm not saying he's going to like hold out or anything like that or fake an injury. I'm not necessarily saying all that, but if you are a running back, you kind of know what your ceiling is already. Is there anybody as of right now, if the draft was tomorrow, that's going to get drafted higher than Ollie Gordon is at the position?
I have no clue. He's definitely up there with the best of them.
So what's your real motivation if you're Ollie Gordon going into the season? Is it to win the Big 12 or is it to not get hurt?
It's a fair point.
It's got to be to not get hurt. That's what I'm thinking. And again, I'm not making this bet because I think Ollie Gordon is just going to go out there for 3 weeks, have 200 yards rushing, and be like, all right, I'm good, and then fake a hamstring injury. But I'm also just saying that I think there was a lot more to prove for a guy like him coming on the radar last year, getting on everybody's radar. I'm just not totally there. And just to point this out, in certain situations, when you've seen players like Caleb Williams, for example, win the Heisman and they come back after a year where the production was at its highest and the performance was great, you just automatically assume that things will get better for that individual, that athlete, and the team. Didn't necessarily happen. Last year, what happened to Caleb Williams? USC was losing all these games. Not saying it was because of him, but USC was losing these games. He starts getting shit for crying. He gets his ass kicked Notre Dame. So I'm just saying, you've got that star with Ollie Gordon, and now you have all the expectations. You have the returning seniors. I think Oklahoma State, you make a great point about the schedule. Also, I wanted to just point out, you mentioned the spots, or you mentioned the teams and where they're going. I also think this is interesting. After their bye week, they have 3 road games in 4 weeks, starting with BYU, then Baylor the very next game, Arizona State at home, and then at TCU, which you said is somewhere that they just don't know how to win.
They can't get a win at TCU.
So I love this. And then in the beginning of the schedule, the fact that you have got Utah and then at Kansas State back to back. There's no cupcakes. There's no tune-ups in those 2 weeks, and then that stretch of 3 road games. So I guess, look, at the end of the day, if I'm going to take this under 8.5 win total, I need 4 losses. So they've got to be Utah, at Kansas State, I guess either or Baylor or BYU, but they're probably not going to lose to BYU because BYU is supposed to be terrible this year. But maybe it's just a spot where you hope they get fucked up a little bit.
It is a Friday night there too, which is
okay.
At BYU. Yeah, at BYU is a place you don't want to be, no matter if there's shit or not.
So great point. Okay, so let's say between BYU and Baylor, they slip up there, 3 losses. And then you need at TCU, and even if they somehow escape that, I don't know how Texas Tech's going to be this year, but then at Colorado. I think, I'm not saying it's comfortable, but I feel a lot better, as they say on the Cover 3 podcast. I feel a lot better about 8-4 than I do 9-3 with Oklahoma State. So I'm probably going to be out on the Cowboys this year, and I appreciate you not talking me off, and it feels genuine. Even though, do you not like Oklahoma State? Like as a fan, like do TCU?
No,
I know
I
you
kind
don't.
of do actually. Yeah,
You do. Okay.
The only team that I really do not like in the Big 12 is Baylor, because they're like our significant rivals. Not a huge Texas Tech fan either, but
Baylor and TCU are rival in all sports, like football and basketball. It doesn't matter.
yeah, they used to be in the same city before Baylor burned TCU's school down. Then they moved to Fort Worth.
Jesus,
That's a real story that happened.
how long ago are we talking?
Oh, back in like, what is it, early 1900s?
Oh, okay.
Ancient, but that's the origin of it all.
Okay, very interesting. I do have to respect Baylor because Donovan Mitchell, I think that was the guy on the basketball team when they won the championship, wasn't it? No, not Donovan Mitchell.
Davion,
What's the guy?
Davion.
Yeah. He was a bad motherfucker. I think Baylor was 5-1, and they were loaded with dogs. All right, Utah, next team. It looks like they're ranked 16th. I feel like we're hearing a lot of Utah love. It's probably warranted. I don't know that I want to be the person that's fading Kyle Whittingham and Cameron Rising that's coming back for, I don't know, what feels like his 6th season. Over 9.5 wins is -165. You got to pay one hell of a premium if you're going to bet on Utah's success. So if you're going to bet on Utah's success, you probably want to go for winning the conference, make the playoff, go for the jugular, maybe Cam Rising, Heisman. But my question is this: if you are, I guess if you're Cam, or if you're the coaching staff, last season, I remember people bitching up a storm about this because there was speculation Cam Rising was going to play at certain points in the season. There may have even been. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
I was just saying it was all year.
It was all year.
Every week it was, he's getting ready. Like he started practicing for a little bit. Questionable this week. Just never played. And
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it even got as early as week 1 against Florida.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely early in the season. I don't know if it was that early, but yeah.
So he never did. He never took a snap.
Don't believe so.
I don't think he took a snap last year. Yeah, it was very annoying. I remember hearing about people on VSiN were bitching about this stuff all the time because, people who bet like heavy money, it's obviously very important, injuries and at key positions that would affect the spread like quarterback. So I would have to imagine, I guess this is what I'm getting at, if you do keep him out for the entire season, you're really thinking about next year, which is now. So you really have to be thinking, okay, we'll just get by with what we can do. Chalk up last year, which they were still pretty competitive. I mean, I'm looking at their schedule. They lost 4 games, but it's not really like they lost to any fucking chumps or had any bad upsets. They lost to Washington. They lost to Oregon. They lost at Oregon State, which isn't an easy place to play, and at Arizona. And Arizona was fucking awesome last year. Made a bowl game. They lost to Northwestern, which is pretty embarrassing, but whatever. So you look at here, though, on the offense, they really just have one returning starter out for receiver and then 3 guys on the offensive line, which is obviously fairly important. Center, right guard, right tackle. The right tackle is a sophomore. It looks like they get back half their defense. I don't really know. Let's see. Running back. They have a senior running back, but it looks like he's a new guy in here. Never heard of him before. I mean, it's really just going to come down to Cam Rising. I like Cam Rising. I'm a Cam Rising guy, but I would have to imagine if this total is 9.5 -165 over, they have to have a pretty soft schedule. Is that what they're saying? But it looks like they play everybody for the most part in the Big 12. You've got at UCF to end the season, at Colorado, at Oklahoma State.
Avoid the Kansas teams is all that I see.
Oh, so they avoid Kansas and Kansas State.
But I still don't think their schedule is all that easy. That's the thing.
Well, back-to-back road games at Utah State, at Oklahoma State. Oh, no. Do they have a stretch? Oh, they have a bye week before Arizona State. How is Arizona State expected to be this year?
Not good.
So yeah, that's what I thought.
That bye week, I think, is very poorly placed.
So if you're betting this over, you can only afford 2 losses. They're likely, I mean, let's just be honest. I don't think they're losing a home game this year. Is Arizona going to be good again?
Yeah, I'm not as high on them as a lot of people seem to be. But yeah, that stretch where it's I think they beat Utah State, obviously, but like they're on the road. It's an interstate rivalry game. Then like no bye week straight at Oklahoma State and Boone Pickens, and you come back home and you play Arizona. That's a scary stretch.
Mm-hmm. So you can afford 2 losses. The late season games at Colorado and at UCF are kind of concerning. I don't know that Arizona State or even Houston is going to be really much of a threat. So it's at Colorado, at UCF, and at Oklahoma State. You can only lose 2 of those games. I guess I would feel pretty confident about going over. I guess I understand why it's minus 165. The over seems likely. Who would be the third loss on their schedule?
UCF, easily.
Right. So Oklahoma State, Colorado, UCF.
I mean, I would say Oklahoma State and UCF are relatively likely.
Really? Well, I can't have them losing to fucking Oklahoma State if I'm going to take Oklahoma State under 8.5. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, it's just one of those games. I'm more so thinking they lose one of the 2 games between Oklahoma State and Arizona, and I wouldn't be shocked if it ends up being Arizona, even though that game is at home. But one thing about Utah, well, first of all, you're betting on Cam Rising's health, which is one thing. But
right
when they went on the road in the Pac-12 against any of like the better offenses, they were not good, like not even relatively good. Like we know they were better at home, but like all the road performances against the better offenses were not just like giving up more than a touchdown. Like they went to USC. USC was USC, but like they gave up 34 points. They went to Washington. They gave up 35. They gave 42 to Arizona. Not those are like disappointing performances, but it wasn't better than anybody else does against any of those teams. So like especially with half the defense leaving, it doesn't really inspire that much more confidence in me, especially if you're betting on Cam Rising's health for an entire season.
Right. The secondary is where they're probably the most inexperienced. They've got a junior returning starter and a senior returning starter, but the front 7 at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 returning starters between the D line and linebackers. Yeah, so a lot of experience up front. I mean, the defense is always good. Kyle Whittingham is what? He's been there 19 years. It's fucking incredible. Yeah, I'm not excited about Utah. I'm not going to say.
I think they're a team, especially because of Cam Rising, like bet week to week. Like I think they're going to have their spots that are going to be absolutely golden. But I mean, not that I'm spewing a hot take here, but I cannot be caught dead betting on Cam Rising to stay healthy for a season minus 165 with that margin of error.
Right. Okay. I think that's more than fair. All right. Talk to me about Kansas. This is a team I also kind of thought about fading. It feels like everybody, and rightfully so, Jalen Daniels is awesome. But I don't think the backup is there anymore, right? Bean?
Nah, he's in the NFL now.
Bean's in the NFL. Bean was a fucking fantastic backup.
I
have his numbers right here, actually. He was 124, 199, 2,130 yards, 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. You take that. So Daniels didn't play a lot last year. He only completed 56 passes, 5 TDs, 1 interception. The offense is, let's see, you're bringing Devin Neal. Why does that sound so familiar? Running back Devin Neal.
Really good running back.
Was he a transfer?
Did he come from somewhere?
I don't know why that name sounds like it came from an ACC school or something. Lawrence Arnold sounds familiar. I have a feeling he's probably a pretty good wide receiver. Yeah. He's coming back. You've got 2 receivers coming back, tight end coming back, running back coming back, but only 2 starters on the offensive line. Wait, how does this make any sense? A freshman left guard and a freshman left tackle, but it says the left guard is a returning starter, so maybe he was a redshirt freshman last year. Yeah, I don't understand. So, anyways, you've got 3 new offensive linemen. The defense has got 5 returning starters. 2 cornerbacks and a safety, but I guess all new linebackers, and they run a 4-3. So they got 3 linebackers in there, all inexperienced. The win total, according to I'm just on Bet Online, is 8.5, and the under is minus 165. This is probably something I would lay. And I don't know. I mean, between laying 165 with Utah winning 10 games and Cam Rising's health, I think I'd rather lay it fading Kansas. who feels like a pretty popular team. And I'm not doing it just to get contrarian or anything like that. But let's see. Last year, what did this team do? They were 8-4. Wow, they lost to Kansas State and Texas Tech, but by a combined 7 points. Played Oklahoma State really tough. They only lost by a touchdown. So the only ass kicking they had last year was Texas, and then they beat UNLV in a bowl game. Who's the coach? Oh, Lance Leopold. He's pretty fucking good. 3 years. Well, he's not that great. He's 17-21 at Kansas. What did he do? Just turn him around? Is that, I guess, what he's done in year 3?
Essentially. I mean, it wasn't really from the start like his guys. Like some of those were Les Miles guys that he had fall into his lap. But, yeah, he's built it up really nicely. I love Lance Leopold. And they also brought in the OC from Baylor. So that's
Jeff Grimes.
Jeff Grimes, yeah. Who's a big run the damn ball guy.
So if you look at their 3 big questions, I don't even need to go to number 2 or 3. It's the first one. It just says what happens if Jalen Daniels gets hurt again.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty fair. Also, I just like looking at these player performances. So you said there he's a run the ball kind of guy. If you look at the most receiving yards in the Big 12, Devin Neal is tied with Ollie Gordon at most rushing yards in the Big 12, plus 350. That's just a lot of respect.
Yeah. And I mean, they play relatively, they have a stretch of a lot of pretty soft run defenses too.
So who are these? I mean, are they playing anybody out of conference? Lindenwood opener? Oh, they get a game at Illinois.
Yeah.
I mean, the schedule does not look that scary.
It doesn't. And I don't know. Like I'm not running to back Kansas because Jalen Daniels' health situation. It's not as bad as Cam Rising's, but it's not one I'm excited to back. I don't want to fade them at all either because I kind of believe in that defense a little bit this year.
You do?
Front seven's not great, but they have a lot of experience coming back in the DB room. Like Kobe Bryant is arguably. I mean, I don't know if I would put many corners in college football outside of the guys that are in Notre Dame and Michigan. Above Kobe Bryant. He's fantastic. They got guys at pretty much every level there, but they're not facing the toughest teams in some of these stretches. So, like, outside of, like, they have a trip to West Virginia, which is probably going to be tough, but I think a game at Illinois that's going to be pretty physical is going to get them ready for that. Then they get TCU after that, who I think you're going to beat. They go to Kansas State, big rivalry game. I don't know if they win that, but, like, go to host Iowa State after a bye week. All, like, the games where they're expected to be tough, I think they're in pretty good spots for. And I especially love that part about Jeff Grimes because he's a big run the damn ball guy. There's going to be a focus on that. So I don't mind at all. I think it gives them a little bit of an edge, a little nasty in them, which I don't think they had.
All right, I'm out. I'm not fading. So the also top newcomer is a center who is a senior, and he was the top center in the Division II. He is expected to be the anchor for the Kansas O-line in 2024. So he's coming from D2, but he was the best center in D2, returning both, or I'm sorry, I think I said it, left guard, right guard. But yeah, the weapons for Jalen are experienced. Devin Neal sounds good. You're telling me they're a run the damn ball kind of guy. The schedule's too soft. I can't get down with fading Kansas, so I'm going to pass. Yeah. So let me ask you this. Between we're going to go to Kansas State, which I'm interested to talk about. Steak's favorite play is on Kansas State. Oklahoma State, Utah, and Kansas, the top 3 teams just by the rankings here. Do you have any plays on them future-wise that you're really into, or it doesn't really sound like you're in or out on anybody strong?
Yeah, the top, I mean, just in general, usually with the Big 12, and I guess with all teams, I love the teams that are hovering around bowl eligibility to target them a little bit more. But I am with you on Oklahoma State, probably the most out of the 3. I think I'm going to be fading them, maybe not on the season, but on a week-to-week basis more so. So for that's where we align, I think, the most.
Okay. Fair enough. Kansas State. Just tell me right off the bat before we get into this. Do you like Kansas State this year, yes or no?
No.
Fuck, man. I wanted to try to get my lick back last year because that was just such a brutal push. I don't know how I got a flat 8 because I feel like you never find these, but I found one on Bet Online. I got incredibly lucky. Kansas State's win total this year is Let's see if I can find it. 9.5 and the under is -140. All right, the big questions according to this: what happens if Avery Johnson gets hurt? I guess you could just ask that for any fucking school at this point.
Yeah.
Where does production come from at wide receiver? Can the return game thrive in 2024? The return game? Who gives a shit about that? If you look at the offense,
for Kansas State, that actually kind of matters because they have a ridiculous like kick return game every single year. It's like this is the first year I don't think they have a guy.
DJ Giddens can't fucking return kicks.
He can. He's just not like they usually have like a Swiss Army knife wide receiver DB type guy, and like he's gonna have to be the guy, which is a little different.
Right.
But that second question I think is the most important one to me because you know what I'm tired of doing in college football is riding these hype trains with quarterbacks that cannot throw the ball, and we've only seen them in wildcat packages. Like the playbook's going to open up, but they talked about some of the challenges of that in the bowl game where they couldn't even do it all that much because Avery Johnson was struggling making reads and throwing the ball, and now that wide receiver room is pretty weak in comparison to what they've had the last couple of years. A little concerned, and like they're always going to be physical and run the ball to where it's not like everything's on Avery Johnson's arm to throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I can get with the ceiling being there because like everybody's one of their favorite Heismans that's not like one of the favorites is all Avery Johnson. He's the big sleeper guy in Kansas State to make the playoff. Sure, I don't know if I can get with that. I do think they're going to be like competitive in pretty much every game. That's Kansas State football, but I got to see it before I believe that Avery Johnson is the guy from a passing perspective.
Okay, fair enough. I was in on Kansas State, not only in the season, but in the bowl game. I think it was the Pop-Tart Bowl. I forget who they played. Was it NC State? Yeah. That was my first time getting eyes on Avery Johnson. I know he had a game before that, I think in the regular season where he filled in for Will Howard, and it says he had 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, although
they're all rushing, I think.
They were all rushing. Yeah, that sounds right. Giddens coming back is probably, I would imagine that's pretty important. He did have 1,200 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns. But yeah, the wide receiver room, I mean, the only guy that's coming back is J.C. Brown. He's a sophomore. He had 400 plus receiving yards last year, so it's not even like he's that experienced. Only 2 returning starters on the offensive line, although one is the center, which I think is kind of important. The defense has a lot of experience. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 returning starters, which is kind of helpful.
Yeah.
Would you say that Kansas State might be an under team if you don't really trust Avery Johnson throwing the ball?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to run it both with him and with Giddens, and even though the offensive line's not returning an incredible amount of production, like they're always good no matter who they have in there. So yeah, I think they're going to be a big run the ball team, and they play, I don't know, they avoid some of the more up tempo teams in the Big 12. Like, I mean, they're going to see Colorado, they're going to see Kansas, and that's really where it ends. So like, I feel like unders on Kansas State is probably a smart investment in those games.
Okay. By the way, this guy said, shout out Avery Johnson bowl game yards, though. Wasn't that one of your squares, right?
It was. I remember I was at dinner sweating that one out. He had like a miracle cash last drive of the game.
I vaguely remember that. It was funny. I was not invested on it, but I just remember seeing that was your play.
Yeah.
And Kansas State looked I don't want to say it was no sweat. It was, I think they were kind of in command for most of the game, but it was the rushing yards. It wasn't the passing yards, right?
It was the rushing yards, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, by the way, DJ Giddens is the 3rd favorite for the most rushing yards in the Big 12, 6-1. Avery Johnson's 22-1. Okay, so I think you make up some pretty decent points on why there's some pause for Kansas State. I would like to ask you, because I like how we do this. When you were in the chat for for ACC, we were talking about, what team was it? Miami. At Miami, you said week 6 is going to be one of your plays because I think that's when they go to Cal. Is that right?
Yeah, I'll be fading. That's like a game of the year, upset of the year in my book that I will probably be going to.
Oh, you're going to go to that game?
I mean, I might have to.
Are you a Cal fan?
No, I wrote them last year. So like they have a spot in my heart, and I really didn't want to go back to them this year, but I am after looking into it, obviously.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. If you look at Kansas State's schedule, starts out fairly easy. I don't know how Tulane's going to be. I guess it's kind of a weird place to play. You're going to – wait, is Tulane in a dome? Isn't that in New Orleans? It's not in a dome?
No.
Interesting. Okay. Arizona, at home, at BYU, Oklahoma State at home. So, I mean, week 5 is going to be, they're going to have to get up, but they have to stay up. The thing is, they get a bye right after Oklahoma State. So, right after Oklahoma State, they have their bye. Then it's three road games in 4 weeks at Colorado, at West Virginia. Not easy atmospheres to play in by any means. Come home to play Kansas, then at Houston, which we talked about, but Houston's not going to be very good.
Yeah.
Arizona State, Cincinnati, and then at Iowa State. So if you're fading Kansas State, you need 3 losses. What would you say they are on the schedule?
I would say between, I don't know, the ranked teams. I don't know if they lose. Tulane kept it close even when they're a little weirder of a team. I wouldn't be shocked if one of those losses comes between Tulane and Arizona, even though Arizona is playing them in Kansas State and Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say I think they catch an early season loss, even when they've been good. They've been really prone to that. I guess remember Missouri in that game, even though Missouri was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think one of them comes there. I think they get upset on the road by one of these teams that can match their physicality. I think that West Virginia spot, especially in the midst of the back-to-back road games after going to Colorado, which is probably going to be a pretty big win.
Mm-hmm.
I think that spot entices me a lot. I wouldn't be shocked if the Kansas game, which Kansas has been trying to get over the hump desperately, if Jalen Daniels is healthy, that could be an upset in that game. And then, I mean, last game of the season at Iowa State, those games are always slugfest madness. It's like that game definitely stands out towards the end. So I would say that if I had to pick 3, I would say Tulane/Arizona for 1, West Virginia 2, West Virginia, Kansas for 2, and then Iowa State 3.
Yeah, I was hoping you weren't going to say that about Iowa State.
Like
but you're probably right. You like Iowa State this year?
Kind of do, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's talk about Arizona. I don't. This is probably gonna be where it starts getting out of my pay grade. When it comes to like these second tier teams in these conferences, so Arizona and Iowa State. Oh God, I mean, I'm not really into Matt Campbell to begin with, but we'll talk about them next. Arizona's got a new coach, but last year they were a fucking anomaly. I think they were 11-1 ATS, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if that rings a bell. Do you not recall that?
No, I mean, I didn't know they were that good. ATS, but that makes sense.
ATS, yeah. Yeah, they were a fucking nightmare. I mean, they lost to USC by 2, Washington 7. And Mississippi State, they lost by a touchdown. Yeah. Other than that, they were winning. I remember, I think one of my 2-unit plays or my best bet was at UCLA at Arizona. It was in the later half of the season, maybe like week 8. Yeah. That was a miserable experience. Absolutely miserable. Partly because UCLA sucked, but also Arizona, they had it in them all year, and I thought they were kind of fluky and it was going to run out. And there's just a Baltimore Orioles team in every sport every year. I got to get better about just leaving them alone. So they're bringing back, who is this quarterback? Noah Fafita.
Yeah.
25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That's pretty fucking good. They've both receivers coming back. This guy McMillan, 1,400 yards receiving. Jeez. And then they've got 3 starters on the offensive line coming back. The defense has just about everybody in the secondary coming back. Both 4 starters coming back in the secondary out of 5. 1 linebacker, but the defensive line is all new starters, according to this at least. Big questions. Can the new coaching staff keep things rolling? That's right. Jed Fish is gone. Where's Fish now?
Where is he?
I don't know. Somebody
brain fart on that.
Yeah, somebody mentioned it in the chat, but I totally forget. Who are the second and third passing targets? And will the defensive line hold up? Fair enough. Let's see. What do we got here in YouTube? Ari says, I cover Arizona. Wait, Jed Fish is with Washington?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a pretty good hire. I cover Arizona. 3 projected first-round picks on this team. Return almost entire secondary. And Fafita and T-Mac. Team got even closer after Fish left, in my opinion. Very interesting. Well, thank you, Ari, for the help. Steak says Fafita's a baller. For Arizona, when it comes to winning the Big 12, the Kansas State doesn't count towards Big 12 standings.
Yeah, I don't think that's something you got to worry about for them anyway.
Okay, fair enough. All right, WCJ2K and Ramble Now, by the way, with us. Banks, appreciate you guys. All right, the win total on Arizona this season is 7.5, and the under is -120. Are you buying anything Arizona related?
No. And
Okay.
I think the win total being where it is pretty telling. Not that it doesn't make sense necessarily, but this is one of everybody's favorite teams last year. They're going to be fun this year, just like they were last year, like offensively, but they get punched in the mouth early in their schedule, which is the issue with me. They're going to start off with 2 free wins, New Mexico, Northern Arizona, non-con layups. But then they go at Kansas State. Then they do get a bye before they go to Utah, but they're still going to Utah, which is I think that's a weird game. I'm not going to rule them out of it, but if they get a win there, I'd be a little surprised. And then a lot of these like worse games that they play throughout the rest of their schedule, like BYU going to BYU is always tough, and now they go to BYU when BYU's off of a bye. Houston's off of a bye when playing them. TCU is off of a bye when playing them on the road. So a lot of these teams, I respect the hell out of UCF too, especially in the bounce house. This is a tricky schedule. So like I 100% agree. Like they're bringing back guys that I think are certified ballers in the NFL, but against a lot of these teams, especially like Kansas State and Utah, you got to out physical them. Their entire defensive line is gone. And they brought like guys over. Dino Babers, I think, is there, and got a couple guys from Syracuse, and I'm sure they have some San Jose State guys in that front too. But that doesn't give me any sort of confidence. If you want the secondary that's bringing a lot of experience back to be good, you're exposing them a lot when you're not getting any pressure on the quarterback, and I think that's going to be the situation in the Big 12. You can't afford that, as a lot of teams have found out recently.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. You're Kansas State's probably going to have a fucking field day running the ball against a team like this.
So
Yeah, exactly. And then so will Utah. I'm trying to think though, if you're, I mean, 7.5 being the number makes it a little appealing if you were to invest in Arizona. The problem is, I always think like this. You're talking about a 9-3 team last season who is bringing back, I would say, a fair amount of players on their offense, at least. Same head coach, same quarterback, leading receiver. It's always these situations and these types of teams that burned people when they weren't there early and they try to get in the following year. I think it's a little telling. I don't do this with every team, but sometimes these lines in the juice, it's a little telling that the premium is on the under you have to pay if you're fading Arizona, in my opinion. So I don't know who the 5 losses are going to be, but yeah, Kansas State and Utah, I don't see them winning either of those games if that's how the matchup's going to be. I would always favor the team that has success running the ball. All right, good points. I don't have to spend too much time on it. If are you going to be fading Arizona, or that's the way you would lean, if anything?
I think I'll get there, not for one of my bigger plays, but I will. We'll be in there for sure. There's another, I don't know, bull-ish team that I would say there's 2 teams in the Big 12 that the line just really stands out for me just looking at it. That's one of them.
Okay. Oh, Arizona's one of them. Got it. Okay, understood. Yeah. I thought you were going to tell me who it was.
I didn't want to go out of order and mess up the flow here.
Fair enough. Okay, I appreciate that. Respect the flow. All right. Why do you like Iowa State? Listen, and I say this because I'm just not really I'm not a Matt Campbell or a PJ Fleck guy. Maybe I should be, but also for what it's worth, like I mentioned, I did get burned with Iowa State, and I just have a hard time ever coming back to supporting a coach that can only go 7-5 or 7-6 with Breece Hall and Brock Purdy. Just kind of blows my fucking mind.
That's fair.
But there's 22 starters. I'll give them maybe, it was a poor roster elsewhere. If you look at the returning starters on this team, there's a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 returning starters on offense, including their entire offensive line. Rocco Becht, is that Anthony Becht's son? Tell me it is.
Might be.
That'd be hilarious if it is. Rocco Becht is coming back. He was a starter last year, 23 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 3,000 yards, which kind of seems like a lot for a quarterback at Iowa State. And then the defense, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 starters on defense. 17 starters comes back for an Iowa State team that I feel like nobody's really talking about. It's more so when there's a team that everybody's hyped about, when it's like, oh, they're returning all their starters, all their key players. That's where it feels like it never really works out. But a team like Iowa State, I feel like it does. The questions: how good can the offense be? Can the pass rush improve? And can Rocco Beck take another step? Well, he is a sophomore. So I don't tend to feel like there's any sort of regression that looms with a younger QB. I always kind of find that to happen maybe if it's a little bit later, like junior or senior, obviously. I mean, right off the bat, I'm not out on Iowa State. So if this is a team that you like, I'll give you the floor and maybe tell me as to why, if anything. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but the over 7.5 wins is -130.
Yeah. So do you know the situation that happened last year with Iowa State?
No.
So they had this big gambling scandal. So the beginning, like the first 4 or 5 weeks or so, they were playing without like half the team. So like that's why, I mean, they held tough against Iowa and probably should have won that game. Like they lost to Ohio and only played that game. Like they lost to Ohio. They're missing guys from the gambling suspension, and they were also like they all had like COVID. So they were playing with like redshirt freshmen, 17 out of 18 guys on the field for a majority of it. And then they were still playing shorthanded when they beat Oklahoma State at home. So like once they got their guys back and healthy the second half of the season, healthy and not suspended, they started rolling, which I really like. And then the only games that they lost beyond that point, a 1-score game against Kansas, really close game, and then a game against Texas that they hung in probably a lot longer than they should have. And they held their own in that one for a while, and I thought they were going to win for a while watching that game. So they're bringing back a lot of production. Rocco Becht, I mean, as a person who watched Brock Purdy in Ames for a couple years, he looks awfully similar, and that the ceiling feels pretty similar, and they're the same type of quarterback. And now that he's coming back around all this returning production, I really like it. And they're kind of like the Oklahoma State team, and like whenever expectations are, I don't know, mid or lower tier, that's when they show up. And whenever they're expected to be good, that's when they lose games they shouldn't. So this year feels like a pretty decent ceiling year for them.
You might have just converted me. You might have converted me. You might have sold me. I think I can probably get there. I'm looking at the schedule. So I was just talking with Steak about this for Big Ten team because we needed somebody to fade. And I thought about maybe getting there with Iowa. I got their over win total last year. And I was thinking about maybe fading them this year. I'm just kind of sick of Iowa and that stupid fucking offense. But they play Iowa in week 2. They got North Dakota week 1. That could be a game that Iowa State can go in there and stir up some problems, I would think. I mean, they're just practicing all offseason for that game. I'm sure Iowa might be too.
Yeah. And I mean, that game, I don't know if they're going to win at Iowa, but I like the non-conference specifically. Like you just look at it on the surface and say North Dakota, Arkansas State, like the 2 FCS games, but Arkansas State is like one of the worst defenses in FBS. They're an FBS team, but they're like one of the worst defenses. So like I like that tune-up as a last game before they head into the Big 12. And if anybody's watched Iowa State, they always, whenever they have a good year, they play their best football towards the end of the season after they get going. I love that their schedule is backloaded heavily this year because they start off Houston, Baylor, which I don't want to say there's going to be easy games, but they're the worst teams on their schedule. They go to Morgantown, which is going to be pretty tough, but like the end of their schedule is where they're getting all the big games. Like they play last 2 weeks are at Utah and then at home against Kansas State. They get Kansas like 2 weeks before that too. So I like leaning into that for them specifically.
Does anybody have a line on Iowa State in week 2? I'm taking it. I'm taking Iowa State, and that's going to set the tone for the season. That's what's going to happen.
If they beat Iowa, there's a legitimate shot. I think they can start 5-0.
I can't. I'm looking on DraftKings right now. I don't see one, but maybe I'm also looking. Does anybody have an Iowa line? I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I am just looking at DraftKings to see if anything is up. I'm way too far down. Here it is. Iowa's -2.5. And I just remembered this game. Iowa beat Iowa State last year, which I remember I obviously very much needed for an Iowa win total. And it was a 20-13 game. It was ugly, and it was close.
And remember, that was when Iowa State was missing half the team too.
That's what I'm saying. Revenge game, and they got their guys now. They're practicing all offseason for it. That's just offseason motivation. Fuck Iowa. North Dakota will be a tune-up game. Maybe it'll be a big spread that they don't cover. Doesn't matter. They're not going to show the whole playbook. I love it. All right. Good shit. I'm very happy to hear that pitch. I think I'm going to be on Iowa State with you. Okay. I don't necessarily, I mean, for the sake of time, and I know you got a show that starts at 12:30. So I don't want to gas you out or anything, but a couple other teams.
I'll be sorry to cut you off, but I'll be going on Mikey's show here, so I got probably about 20 minutes too.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I would like to get your thoughts on it. We don't have to go through every single team, like BYU, Houston, or whatever. But I would like to get your thoughts on two teams specifically, if you have any. If not, you don't have to force it. But absolutely have to talk about UCF. So I feel like you kind of hinted at it earlier. I think that you like UCF this year. I feel like a lot of people like UCF this year, and yeah. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I am a Central Floridian myself. I don't have a degree from the school, but I've always supported UCF. Go Blake Bortles. We'll never forget. But here's the thing. I can't tell you how many times I've heard KJ Jefferson for Heisman pick, a sneaky Heisman pick. I am not there. I understand the fit with Gus Malzahn in the offense, dual threat, whatever. From watching KJ Jefferson last year at Arkansas, there was not enough there for me to get overly excited. But even though I'm out on KJ Jefferson Heisman, and I know it's a long shot, so I'm not going to shit on anybody who takes it, I'm still okay with getting involved in UCF on the win total. I just kind of want to pause a little bit before I run all in and get excited. 7.5 over is -135, -130. It looks like they're returning their starting running back, MJ Harvey. They've got 2 receivers coming back, and they've got 3 offensive linemen coming back. On the defense, though, not much returning. There's 2 defensive tackles, a safety, and a cornerback. Everybody else is going to be new. A lot of juniors. Looks like 1 or 2 sophomores starting, sophomore cornerback, sophomore linebacker. It's a lot of inexperience, I would imagine, on the defensive side of the ball. And I don't know that UCF is necessarily known for their defense. So you're probably going to have to need the offense to catch up. Last year, they had a terrible stretch of losing 5 in a row, but then they ended it pretty nicely. They won at Cincinnati, beat the shit out of Oklahoma State, went on the road to Texas Tech where they only lost by 1 point. And then season finale, they beat Houston by 2 touchdowns, lost to Georgia Tech in a bowl game. Are you taking their win total over, or are you going for any sort of surprise to win the Big 12? You said yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I think their ceiling's high. I was a little higher on the ceiling as far as winning the Big 12 probably a couple weeks ago. I think I've maybe walked that back a bit, but I'm high on UCF. I know a lot of people love KJ Jefferson, which I like the fit at UCF too. Don't get me wrong, but the running back room is more important to me than anything. RJ Harvey is fucking amazing.
RJ Harvey. I think I said MJ. Sorry about that. Continue.
Yeah, RJ Harvey is amazing. And they also got Penny Boone from Toledo, I believe, somewhere in the MAC. I might be wrong, but he's also really good. So like that running back room, especially with KJ Jefferson and what he can do with his own feet, I think the run game is going to be one of the better ones in the Big 12. The problem, I guess you could argue, is they have some tricky spots. Like, I genuinely think the toughest game on their schedule is like the toughest spot on their schedule happens to be TCU, which I feel like that game, both for UCF and TCU, like sets the tone for their seasons. And I'm not saying that's tougher than going into the swamp, tougher than playing Utah, even though it's at home. But the spot opening up Big 12 play with that, I feel like sets the tone for both those team seasons. So I think that's going to be a massive matchup. And outside of that, like they have some tricky spots in their schedule, but I believe enough in that run game to kind of control everything and keep the defense off the field, which they've talked about being an emphasis really throughout the offseason. So they're going to lean on that, and I think they're going to be really good. So I'm on that train.
Okay. So I'm looking at I guess if you're backing the run game, I'm good with it. The RJ Harvey is the 4th shortest shot. He's actually tied with DJ Giddens at 6-1 to have the most rushing yards in the Big 12. So that's a lot of respect. And I would imagine that he's probably going to have a great season. The concern I have with KJ Jefferson is as a passer. And I'm just looking at his stats to make sure there's nothing that I really missed. But if you look at his stats last season, there are one, two, three, four, 5 games he threw for over 200 yards. He had, against Mississippi State, I remember watching that game. I had the under. It was absolutely dreadful, which was great if you have an under. 19 for 31, 97 yards passing. This was at home against Mississippi State. Sounds like you have something you're going to say about this.
Oh, I was just realized that I was muted because I had to reset the sound. But I can tell you this: my one answer to everything, KJ Jefferson.
Okay.
That play calling scheme in Arkansas was atrocious. The offensive line was terrible. They had Raheem Sanders, who was one of the best running backs in college football, but couldn't run the ball because the O-line was so bad. Slash was hurt half the season. So it was kind of just threw him into the fire and said, fuck you, figure it out, which is, I'm glad he got out of that situation. And Gus Malzahn loves him, and now he's got a consistent run game to kind of rely on. So I feel like everything's going to come together for KJ Jefferson, and especially with it not being as much on his shoulders like it was last year, I feel a lot more comfortable backing him to do.
Okay. I think that's fair. Arkansas was pathetic to watch last season. And I'll get you out after this. Again, I appreciate you taking the time and talking Big 12. I got to know where you stand on Colorado. I know the infamous crabs fade last year, which I hate to say this, but that would eat me up if that was my big play, because maybe it should have hit. And I know I think it was fucking TCU blew it. I think you guys were at that game.
Yeah.
And even I think there was a game late in the season that was pretty close. Was it
Arizona State? They won on a walk.
Arizona State.
They should have won that game though, so you can't get too mad about that. I guess I would be more upset about the Colorado State game. That game was crazy. That game was in double OT.
Double OT, right. 43-35. Yeah, that was tough. So I have to know, I know you guys you hated Colorado throughout the majority of the season. I don't necessarily know that I'm a Colorado hater. They definitely do some things that make me cringe, especially as a boomer. But I've always kind of been a Deion Sanders guy. I like when former players and athletes get a shot at coaching. And I don't know that we necessarily need these old Greg Schianos. So I like when you get some players in there and coach, and especially guys with some swagger and some personality. But they're definitely very obnoxious. So I get why they're not easy to root for. But I did a pretty good job about not fading Colorado. I didn't do it on the season. I didn't do it so much in the spots. I kind of just left them alone. This season, I met in the cornfields in Vegas. Every book had 5.5 win total, except Circa had 6. He went and he made a significant wager on the under 6. I think it is one of his favorite plays in the season. Are you going to be going back to fading Colorado?
Yes. And I want to make it clear, I don't hate Colorado. We just hated I at least just hated the Colorado slurpers. They're so obnoxious. But it's not really a spite play, because my whole plan, we talked about this last year, like I wanted to fade them year 1 and then get to backing them because I wanted to get confidence in Deion to build the program in year 2. But everybody left. It seems very unserious. And from myself talking to people who were in that program, nobody takes Deion serious. Nobody takes Shadur serious. Nobody takes anything that's going on in that building very serious. And looking at their schedule right now, it's a shit ton tougher than it was, I don't know, and like throughout the entirety of like last year's schedule. Not that they're facing better teams, but the spots are a lot more difficult to find wins. So I don't want to spend all that much time on it, because I do want to talk to you really quickly about probably my favorite one in the Big 12, but yes, we're going back to it.
Oh, please do. Okay. Well, I'm glad to at least know that you co-signed the under, but because you made you pointed out about the schedule having some tougher top spots. Okay, please tell me what your favorite Big 12 win total is.
Yeah, so I was talking about, or alluding to, the lines like standing out for a couple teams, and yes. Arizona was one. I thought theirs was awfully low and pretty telling looking at the schedule. There's another team that was 3-9 last year, last place team in the Big 12, and out of all the teams that are kind of middling, like you point out, like Baylor and like TCU and a lot of those teams, the one that stands out the most, because their line's at 5.5, juice to the over. I love Cincinnati, and that's probably
really
the next one in my big 3 for college football bets, because that's one I could not stop looking at. The second that college football futures, we started seeing those lines. I want to get up the exact numbers. I'm not spewing bullshit, but They had a lot of close losses last season and losses that shouldn't have been losses. They were 3-9. They did have 4 one-score losses, and in those games, they outgained their opponents by 180, 254, and 122. So like the whole problem with that was the run game was great. They have Corey Kiner, a really good offensive line. The entire offensive line returns this year, which is big because they're already one of the more physical units in the Big 12. And then Emory Jones, who I don't know if you're familiar was that quarterback.
Florida?
Yeah, he came from Florida. He was supposed to be their savior. He's terrible.
Yeah, he was a motherfucker.
No deep ball. And like in those 4 games that they outgained their opponents by a shit ton and still lost, 7-2 turnover battle is what they lost in those 4 games. 6 of those were from Emory Jones's arm because he was consistently single-handedly losing them games, partially because his decision-making was some of the worst I'd ever seen, but they also like stacked the box because he couldn't throw the ball deep. And then when he tried, it was nowhere near a receiver and it found somebody else on the other team. So I like the crutch of the run game. Corey Connor's a name you should look to, but also I think there's a guy that nobody realizes, partially because of Cincinnati, but Brennan Sorsby is coming over from Indiana to be the quarterback at Cincinnati. He just like officially won the battle. Never in question, but I think you should look at this guy sometime. Watch some film last year because he won the job second half of the season for Indiana. And if he started all season, I don't think everybody at Indiana would have gotten fired. I think it would have been a different story. But he's got a little Josh Allen in his game, which I really like. He reminds me of like an early Wyoming Josh Allen, where he's a little less erratic because he was like 15 touchdowns, 5 picks last year. So he knows how to take care of the ball, which is really good for that offense because that's really all they need. And they need a game manager, but he's more than that. He can throw the deep ball too. He's like 6'3", like 250, and he's fast as shit. So like he's a weapon with his own feet. So like that offense, like as a whole, they have offensive line coming back. Corey Kiner's a 1,000-yard rusher, one of the better ones in the Big 12. Sorsby, I think, is going to be really good for that team. They have their pass catching options coming back. Xavier Henderson's really good. The offense, I think, is going to be great. So their issue last year was shooting themselves in the foot because the defense was actually good last year. So that's the one question, I guess, coming into this year. The defense has a lot of guys coming in from different places in the transfer portal, but I trust Satterfield as a defensive guy to get it together. But the offense is going to be better. And realistically, like looking at last year, they had so many games that they were at the table with and just shot themselves in the foot. Like they lost in double overtime to Miami, Ohio, had no business losing. Like I remember they played Oklahoma State. I'm looking up the exact number, but like they had 450 yards of offense and scored like 10 points. And it was just that type of shit with Emory Jones. And now they have the run game and Sorsby in there to control it. I think they are going to be immensely better this year. So if there's any one of those middle of the pack Big 12 teams that I'm taking to make the jump to a bowl, it's them.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, because I guess that's what it would be if you're taking over 5.5 and you need to be bowl eligible and win 6 games. Okay. Yeah. Minus 130 is what I'm seeing. I think I took Cincinnati last year and found out real fast Emory Jones was not the guy at BYU. I think I took him at BYU. And, I forgot that it was actually even a close game, 35-27. I remember the line being a little suspect, and that's why I fell for it. And, yeah, he was miserable, absolutely miserable. And I was all the way out on Cincinnati, I think, for the rest of the season. Chose not to get involved. But you bring up a good point. I mean, returning all 5 guys on the offensive line. I don't know shit about Sorsby. I'm happy to get familiar. And they have a guy on the defensive line named Dante Corleone.
Well, that's actually, I mean, that's probably not one of the positives. I don't know if he's going to be able to suit up. He has like some health problems.
Oh.
So the defense is a question, but realistically, I mean, you're not winning in the Big 12 with defense, especially their schedule's interesting because they avoid pretty much everybody at the top. Like the only ranked team, because there's 5 ranked teams in the Big 12 right now, like going into the season. It's Kansas State, Kansas State, Arizona, Utah, and I don't know why I'm blanking on the last one. But the only ranked team they play is
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. And then the only team they play out of those 4 or out of those 5 is Kansas State. Sorry.
So Kansas State, yeah. The shitty thing is that at the end of the year, those back-to-back games at Iowa State, at Kansas State, that's brutal. I think.
Well, it is kind of brutal, and I don't think they're winning either of those games. But
right.
Like the start of the season, like Towson is going to be a win. Nothing's like a handout because like they did lose to Miami, Ohio last year at home. I think they get their get back. I don't think Pitt's going to be all that good. But there's some interesting spots like for them too, because like they play UCF in the bounce house, which I love UCF in the bounce house. But you know who UCF? You know what that scheduling spot is for UCF? That's the week after they go to the Swamp and play Florida, that's probably the biggest regular season game that program's ever had, and it's before they go to Ames with no bye week. So that's a weird sandwich spot game there. They also play like TCU is the holy grail of all spots. TCU.
Well, and sorry not to cut you off, but Cincinnati has a bye week before that UCF game.
Yeah, I didn't meant to mention that. That's on me. But they also have a bye week before they host West Virginia, which is huge. So does West Virginia, but that's like a rivalry they're trying to bring back, and it's at home for the first time since they've been in the Big 12. So that's a big game. Then TCU plays a home game against Oklahoma State, which is always a big game there. They have a bye week, then they have another home game against Arizona, which is probably the biggest game of the regular season there for TCU. Then they go last game of the season up north to play Cincinnati on the road, which that's the game. Like anytime TCU goes up north late in the season, cake. And a lot of the time it's West Virginia because there's been nobody else other than like Iowa State in the Big 12 that's even close. So like it feels like TCU's momentum for the season kind of ends there before that game. So like I feel like there's some spots that they can take back.
Love it. Are you doing I'll end it with this, but are you doing a big 3 again like you did last year?
Yeah, I have like I did a big 3, or I'm doing a big 3 of college football and NFL. It's on like the same graphic. So I have the first couple out. It's Cal and Panthers.
You're going back to Cal, which is fine. I'm not gonna tell that, but I'm gonna target a few spots. I think Cal is gonna make a little bit of noise in the ACC, so I'm with you there. So you have 2 other that you haven't revealed for your favorite spots. Is Cincinnati one of them? Not to spoil anything. Yeah. All right, spoiler alert. All right, dude, I'll let you shut it down. I know you got a show in a couple minutes. W's, I'm going to tail this. I'm probably going to tail Iowa State as well. Love it. Thank you very much for making the time. Appreciate it. You'll be on Book It Sports Twitch channel after this, and BTL at 12:30.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. All right, I'll be tuning in. Thank you so much. Good luck on this football season. We'll chat later.
Of course. Appreciate it.
All right, take it easy, man. W's, Jovan. Thank you very much for the time and for the nuggets. A couple of new follows. My bad. OJ Pimpson Bets, W's, Spain PNR, W's. What's up? New follow. Welcome to the board review. We are not reviewing the board. We are actually going over college football previews. So just to give you a quick recap, again, we did the ACC on Monday. We did the Big Ten yesterday, and we are going through this nifty little book here, the old Lindy's magazine, if anybody fancies. I'm going to fade the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Jovan didn't sound like he was overly enthused with it. We both were on it last year. I wasn't tailing him. I was in on it for reasons that I felt comfortable with, and we got burned. But I'm going to go back to it, and I think I gave a pretty good reason as to why. If you weren't here, though, because I say we do have a bunch of new faces in Twitch. Hello and welcome. By the way, if you're watching in Twitch, hit follow. If you're watching in YouTube, subscribe to the channel. But 3-year sample size, teams with expectations and returning starters, returning the head coach, returning the quarterback. 2021, Iowa State with Brock Purdy and Breece Hall, UNC with Sam Howell. Iowa State went 7-6, UNC went 6-7. These are years before they won, I think, 9 games and got everyone's radar. 2022, Devin Leary and NC State. People were picking them in the ACC. People were picking them to make the playoff. They went 8-4, under 8.5 with that one. Last year, this is a little bit different for the reasoning, but everybody loved Wisconsin. Wisconsin over. People were saying, oh, take a fucking splash play on Wisconsin to win the Big Ten. I was listening. I didn't do it, but I was listening. I was gargling that shit up. It was like 8-1 or something. I was like, yes. But then I started realizing everybody loves Wisconsin, and I scaled my units back on that play a little bit. I think Oklahoma State's going to be that team this year that disappoints people. Utah, kind of in on Utah. I don't know that I'm going to get there. Overs juiced, -165. Not sure I'm going to get there. Kansas, I wanted to fade Kansas, but I thought Jovan made some pretty good points on why Kansas should be good this year, especially with the run game and Devin Neal. So the secondary being experienced. I mean, I think I'm just out on anything Kansas related. Jovan does not love Kansas State this year, which sucks. I'm kind of with Steak on this one. I like Kansas State. I'm a sucker for Kansas State. I had Kansas State over last season. I pushed. I got very lucky. Had Will Howard flyer to win the Heisman. That did not come through, which is fine. I learned a lot watching Will Howard. I don't think he's that good. But Avery Johnson's a dog. However, he's going to have some question marks passing the ball. It's going to be a few spots on this schedule where I will back Kansas State, likely against Arizona after what we just discovered there with their weakness on the defensive line. Arizona, speaking of, over 7.5. This line looks low. I'm sorry, under 7.5 is what I would go with Arizona. Am I going to do it? I'm not sure. They've got some guys. Shout out Ari, who covers Arizona in the YouTube chat. Thank you for making some pretty good points. I'm not totally out on Arizona. The defensive line is all new faces. All new faces. They do return a pretty decent amount of starters on offense. They probably should end their quarterback. They should be just fine on offense. Jed Fish is gone though, which is probably a big deal. But Ari mentioned that he thinks the team may have gotten a little bit closer. I'm not thrilled about it, but I think I'm probably going to fade Arizona in some way, shape, or form. D-line's a big question. Yeah, so I think as we talked about with Jovan, they're probably not going to hold up very well in these back-to-back games at Kansas State and at Utah, even though there's a bye week in between them. I think that both teams are going to run down their fucking throats. Jovan talked me into Iowa State. Jovan talked me into Iowa State. I think I'm there with Iowa State. I mean, they return a fuck ton of starters, which it only concerns me when it's teams that are very, very trendy and become very, very popular for everybody's picks. I don't hear anybody talking about Iowa State. I could be wrong. I'm not really a Matt Campbell guy, but I'm going to give him one more shot. It's not going to be a nuke or a significant play by any means, but I'm going to get down with it, I think. I like, plus I love Anthony Beck. If Anthony Beck's son is the quarterback for Iowa State, sign me up, and I will be taking Iowa State to beat Iowa in week 2. Fuck Iowa. I'm over Iowa. Got my 2 units on Iowa over win total last year. I ain't going back. West Virginia, nothing. Texas Tech, nothing. There were some interesting things about West Virginia, though. They get Garrett Green back. This guy had some potential. I thought he was a pretty decent quarterback last year. I'm going to be looking to bet on West Virginia in certain spots, but this is a team I'd probably want to watch first. Yeah, I'm going to wait on them. Texas Tech, I got nothing for you. UCF, Javon's in on UCF. I'm going to hold off on UCF. I'm not really a big KJ Jefferson guy. I know he's kind of a cute pick, and I love long shots. I love being bold, and I'm all good with it. I'm not telling you KJ Jefferson is necessarily a shit wager to win the Heisman. I don't know that I would tell anybody it's a shit wager at 60, 70 to 1. I mean, you're looking at a guy who took Tyrod Taylor to have the most passing yards in the NFL when he was the quarterback for the Browns the year they drafted Baker Mayfield. I took Dwayne Haskins, RIP, to win the NFL MVP at like 80 to 1 when he was matched up with Ron Rivera in Washington. So listen, I'm all for bold bets, betting with your plums, your gut. You know what I mean? If you want to take KJ Jefferson, more power to you. I'm just not there. I just don't really see it with him. And I think you don't necessarily have to be a great passer, but you have to be able to pass. And Jovan brought up a good point. A lot of rambling, throat's getting dry. A good point about Arkansas just being a disaster. So maybe it was just a bad setting for him. Maybe UCF is the right spot with Gus Malzahn and some weapons and a great running back. So he might thrive. UCF is going to be a tough team. Colorado, he co-signed the under. Shout out Corn for getting the best number in America, under 6 at Circa. It was minus 120. I think it's down to minus 150. Shout out to you for moving the market. Cash it, CLV. They should pay you out, though, right? If you get CLV, might as well. All right. Colorado, I'm not going near Colorado. Weird team. I got nothing on him. And then Jovan's favorite bet. It's hard for me not to get involved on this. I think I'm going to have to. Cincinnati over. 5.5 over juiced. First time chatter. My bad. Spain PR. Missed yesterday. What are your thoughts on Michigan this year? I like Michigan. And by the way, if you want all our thoughts, subscribe to the newsletter. Oops, I did that wrong. Of course I did. Newsletter. Go to the website, thedegenerateweekly.com. Right when you get there, you can subscribe. There is an option to pay. You do not have to pay. Also, by the way, I think I can change the amount to pay. I think it was like $8 a month. I think maybe you can do less. You can put in whatever you want. You can pay $2 a month. I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter. People that support our writing, thank you very much. It's much appreciated. That'll be out Friday morning, and we'll have Steak and I. Greg's on a big college guy. Steak and I will have our best bets. W Budman, W Crutch. What happened? I missed something. W Cheered Bit. Thank you, Tosi. Cheers. So I don't really know what that does, but I appreciate it. And again, thank you for the sub banks today. I'm going to be on Cincinnati. Steak's all in on Kansas State. I'm just going to have to hope Jovan is wrong in that sense. And Avery Johnson is that dude. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to shut it down. I'm getting hit with a few corp texts I got to attend to. I'm not overly corp today. Tomorrow is a busy day. And then I fly out Friday night, but we will be streaming. We're going to have a space. What are my royalties for my featured article? That's a good question. I'll get you a promo code underdog. Sign up with underdog, promo code DGen, 50% deposit match. There you go. That's for you, Matt. Actually, it's for everybody. All right, Matt, let me give you something else. How about SeatGeek? SeatGeek. First purchase on SeatGeek, $20 off, promo code DGen. Oh, shit, that's for everybody else, too. I don't know, but I'll think of something. All right, we'll get creative. Have a great day. Good luck on all your bets. I will take a gander at the MLB board tomorrow. Fuck Greg. I'm going to take a gander at the MLB board. I'm going to probably dabble, but it'll come a little bit later. So I'm going to tune into Behind the Lines, 12:30. No golf. Yeah, I'm going Tony Finau. Tony Finau, where he'd be now. He's winning in Colorado. That's it. Single bullet, I think. Single bullet. I was like an Aberg. I think I'm pivoting to Tony Finau. Fuck Cantlay. And fuck Shane Lowry. All right. With all due respect. Have a great day, guys. Good luck on all your bets, and I will chat with you later. I'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. We will be doing the SEC, and then the article or the newsletter will be out Friday morning. Peace.